It's not an
I
action
told her,
item.
I says, we
No.
need to quit getting these training things and go get one.
I'd like
That's
to
actually-
welcome you guys
That's
to
right.
our January school board meeting and
Oh,
welcome
no, we're
Mr.
doing good. How about your family?
Mr. Paul Wyatt as our new board member. Both Mr. Wyatt and myself were sworn in before the meeting, so we'll skip that on the agenda. Virginia, can you take roll?
Certainly. Paul Wyatt,
Here?
Kelly Boyer,
Here.
Lemista Schultz.
Here.
John Larson,
Here.
Stacy Anderson.
Thank you. So we'll go to 3.2, review and sign the school board member conflict of interest.
The top one is if you don't have a conflict.
Bunch of dollars waiting on a dime, huh?
Good. I think we are missing the Pledge of Allegiance on here and the invocation. So if you're able, please rise for the pledge and followed by the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the opportunity to meet here tonight as the Shiloh Governing Board. We're grateful for our board members, and we're grateful for all that we have. We're grateful for our staff members and those who serve and love our children and our students. And we ask for blessings to be placed upon them and help them and to deliver the best services to our kids. We love you and we're so grateful for all that we have. Say these in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Okay, item 3.3, nominations for board president.
I'd like to make a motion that we nominate Stacy Anderson as board president.
I'll second.
Okay, any other nominations? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 3.4, election of vice president. Do we have nominations for that?
I make a motion that we nominate Lemista Schultz as vice president.
I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And then we also need a clerk. Anyone like to be clerk this year?
I'll motion Kelly Boyer. Put your in favor.
Okay, I'll second the motion.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5.1, approval of the agenda. Oh, sorry, guys. 3.5, designation of public places for the posting of meeting notices.
Is it currently at the district office or where is it currently?
High school?
At the high school?
High school.
At the high school still?
I think that's still
Okay.
better since the district office is still not our permanent location.
Yeah.
I agree.
How many places do you have to post it at?
The high school and the website.
So one location. And
One
then,
location, then the website?
and we can switch it back to the district office if it's ever done. I saw walls up.
Well, we can post it at all the schools if you'd like.
I think the more places, the better, personally.
You guys want to make a motion on that?
Yes, but do we still want to do the second Thursday of the month at 6:30? Does that still work for
Is
everybody?
that what we're on? Is that on there?
How long have you been doing it that way?
Forever.
Forever.
Why change?
Exactly. I'll make a motion to designate the high school and all the school sites for our posting of our meeting notices.
Does that include WMI?
Sure, why not?
Okay, great. I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5.1, approval of the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6.1, approval of meeting minutes for, I think there's 3 on there.
I move to approve the meeting minutes for December 8th as presented.
I'll second. Oh, John can get it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 7.1, ratification of expense and payroll vouchers, tax credits, and activity account. Mrs. Beecroft?
So for your review and approval, we have all of the AP vouchers, our payroll vouchers, and account balances in our student activities for your approval.
I move to approve the financial agenda items as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Call to the audience. Is there anyone? Virginia? No? Item 9.1, NABET presentation by Mr. Weber.
Thank you, Mr. President, Governing Board. Appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight with you. I couldn't help but chuckle during your conversations there on making your decisions on where to post, because we just had our meeting last night. We had very similar conversations, and they said, well, how long have we been doing Wednesday at 6? And I said, well, since 1999, since we started. So I hear what you're going through. So appreciate your having me here tonight. Just want to do a shout out to those that we work with. Appreciate working with Kevin, your superintendent, Ben at the high school. Jerry Butler is the CTE director, and Brandy Gray is our career tech, and enjoy working with them and appreciate what they do to make things happen. And there's been a lot going on this year. I just want to remind everybody the 2 main reasons that we exist. And first is to bring that funding stream into the district where it gets spent on your CTE programs here at the high school. And second is to provide the central programs at the community college. And so I'll go over those here in just a bit. And so let's take a look at that funding stream. So I'm excited about the numbers here tonight because it's quite a jump from last year. We had $325,000 this past year. In FY23, our estimates are $370,000. So what that does then is that puts you over $8 million. 8.1 million that has come into Show Low Schools since you joined us, and you were one of the original 5 districts. So we're excited about that. That shows the growth that you have in your programs here at Show Low High School, and building capacity is always a huge thing. And the other exciting thing is not just the number of 370,000, but and I realize the numbers that you see on there you can't really read on my printout. But the last time you were at 370,000 is back before they took away freshman money. The legislature of 2011, that's when they cut the freshmen. So you have rebounded back to where you were before we lost that freshman money. So I'm excited about that. Once again, that says a lot for your administration, your CTE teachers getting out there and recruiting students into their programs. And so that 370,000, that's going to be spent in the programs that you have there on that next slide. Notice that you've got a few that offer more than one program, and that's how to maximize your funding. And so we're excited that you were able to replace the teachers that left, because that's always a scary thing these days. It's hard to find career and technical education teachers. And so you've been able to find those that have been in your communities, and that's just not an easy thing. So that's something to be very proud of. This past year, actually the past 2 years, the main focus that we've had, and your teachers have had, as well as your directors, has been focused on the Department of Education monitoring. It's as invasive as it gets. They claim, well, there's only 9 indicators, but then there's 3 or 4 sub-indicators. So before you're done, you're well over 30 indicators that you're having to prove and provide artifacts and records. And it's a huge, huge undertaking. And so your teachers have all been heavily involved in that. Brian was involved in that when he was director before. So this is an ongoing thing, and Show Low's really, really close to finishing up. And so I'm excited about that. And I just wanted to let you know that NAVET, with our 301 funding, we've been able to pay your teachers $25 an hour, up to 80 hours a year, to help them helps pay them for that extra time, because this is way beyond the teaching day for what it takes to provide all this documentation. And so we recognize that even once you finish, they want you to be increasing on the number of artifacts you have, so we'll provide additional funding for your teachers as it is needed. And I just want to let you know, too, that this coming year now, the focus has been to kind of wait and see where ADE is going to head. We have several of our directors in our area are on a strategic planning team down at ADE, and they were there today. And the new superintendent of public instruction came in and said, "Hey, we're going to change some things up," but didn't give any indication. So we're going to be watching closely what happens. But in a nutshell, we just appreciate our opportunity to work with your CTE teachers, your administration, to bring in $370,000 in these days is something to be really, really proud of. And we appreciate the opportunity to work with you, and I'll entertain any questions that you might have for me.
I've noticed the construction for the new building. When will that be completed on the MPC campus?
Oh, boy. We're really, really hoping they can be in there after spring break. We'll see. That's going to house both welding and automotive, and those are both of our central programs, two of our flagship programs that we offer here in Show Low. And so we're hoping that they can get in there by April. They told us even 3 months ago, "Oh, don't worry, you'll be in there by Christmas." But every time I put my head in, I thought, "Oof, a lot of work to be done." But we're excited about that facility, and that'll help particularly on students being able to get to class and not be stressing over going to more than one campus. So we are excited about that.
Where have those programs been housed in the meantime?
They've been leased. Well, the welders have been in a building we own that we've owned for about 15 years, and that's out in the air park. And then the college has been leasing a facility, Lumberman's Loop, so back behind First Source. Is that what it's called now? It's changed names so many times, I can't remember, but that's where the auto program is.
Okay, so this will be a more central location for them?
Yeah.
That's great.
Will you be able to have more students, or will enrollment be the same in the new space?
We are going to be able to open more slots with automotive starting this fall because of getting into that new facility. Number of welders will be about the same, but we really want to build extra capacity there because we've had to turn students away on welding. So that's definitely something we need to work on. The main new program that we brought to Show Low as far as central programs is the computer repair and maintenance. And so we're really excited about that. NPC's been very helpful, and they're working hard on law and public safety. We'll find out within the next couple of weeks if that'll be ready for fall. And they're also working on a sports medicine program. But you've got one right here at Show Low High School, and so I've encouraged them to get out and meet the Show Low teacher, because the more you communicate with the teachers, the more opportunity they have to do dual enrollment, because you've got a very promising program right here at the high school.
You guys have any more questions for Mr. Weber?
No, thank you for all you do.
So much.
All righty. Thank you. Appreciate that. You guys be safe. And once again, appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, and love working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 9.2, student assessment and data presentation. Dr. Taylor?
There it is. You see it on your screens?
Yeah.
Mr. St. John, members of the board, thank you for allowing me to take just a couple minutes. And Mr. Wyatt, welcome to the board. Thank you for being here or back here.
Thank you.
I'd like to begin by working on a goal of mine, which is to express gratitude, to acknowledge things that need to be acknowledged. My wife and I have felt to say thank you for the opportunity we have had to be a part of Show Low School District as an administrator and as a teacher. Many people have taken the opportunity to help us, to advocate for us and support us, and we express our gratitude. She's here behind me and didn't want to stand for that. I also am mindful of having Matt just present how much I appreciate and value the CTE program and what that's been like. My friends there, my friends at WMI, it has been a worthwhile experience, and I express my appreciation. In the title of this presentation is called Student Achievement, but that comes with a caveat. Student achievement just isn't benchmark scores, and I wouldn't want to minimize what really important education looks like. We all value scores, of course, but there's so much more. And I want to acknowledge the teachers of this school district who've taken the time to help students achieve in a number of ways, whether it's coaching or extracurricular activity, and even probably most important, the one-on-one time that teachers take to look after kids who need that attention, sometimes are even broken and need healing. And I know of many staff who do that, and they pride themselves on it, and I'm grateful for them. So student achievement, we'll look at numeric data this evening, but behind every number is a child. And that's where I want to make sure we remember those things. This first slide that you may see is the quarter one and quarter two results for ELA for the district in the AASA and ACT tests. Now, I would mention that you might see most of the scores go up. However, I will remind you that those are different standards being tested. So it isn't as if they're going up on a particular score of a certain standard. These are just different standards. And what we're going to be doing in just a moment is averaging the two and talking about it. The same thing goes for the quarter two, 1 and 2 math results. So different standards. We'll look at the averages in just a minute. To the left-hand side, you'll see how there's a percentage of 50, 60, 70% passing. So that's what that means along the left-hand side. Okay, let's look at quarter one and quarter two benchmarks compared to the Arizona AASA scores, the state averages. We can look at the 8th, 7th, and 6th grade to the left and the 5th, 4th, and 3rd grade to the right. When I first pulled up the scores, they seemed a little low to me. And the pass rate seemed low. And then when I started digging into it, it seemed like that was a very common thing. But the interesting piece is that our scores are higher than the state average, and in some cases, considerably higher than the state average. So that's worthwhile. You'll notice on the left-hand side that 8th, 7th, and 6th grade really did a good job. I wouldn't be surprised if the 5th, 4th, and 3rd graders, their scores, and not just ours, but statewide, are reflective still of COVID-related impact of learning loss or of the little kids not having some of those key skills solidified as they progress. So they're moving up in grade, but they lost a year or two in their exposure to some of those standards. So they're going to be playing catch up maybe more than the older. Notice in the quarter 1 and 2 math scores all across the board, 8th, 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, and 3rd grade, all are considerably higher than the state average. Now, one of the interesting things that we should probably mention here is what you're looking at is our quarter 1 and 2 benchmarks averaged in comparison to the state AASA test. Now, the premise of much of our work is that our scope and sequence, there's been some controversy regarding BT and other things, that if is it aligned to the state test? The argument is that it is. That's why we've supported it in the past and will continue to support it. But what we should look for when we take our 3rd quarter benchmark and we average them together, that should be fairly close to the score that we receive on the AASA test if they are indeed aligned. So that would be an interesting piece of information that we'll take a look at after the 3rd quarter. Here are some interesting numbers that reflect the charts that I just showed you. Look at 3rd grade. In the spring of this last year, they scored exactly the state average, but look at them now, 47%. 4th grade, they're about the same as they were before in math. 5th grade, they've jumped to 43% over the state average. But I want to draw attention to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and acknowledge the teachers who performed in this area. I'm going to give their names, and this will probably be the only time I get to publicly acknowledge my wife in this way. She's one of those teachers. So I'll embarrass her and congratulate her. She's not the only one, of course. There's Glenda McMillan, Linda Larson, Candace LaBute, and Kelsey Zampedri, who need acknowledging too. Look at the scores on the right-hand side, 69, 65, 67 compared to all the state averages. Extraordinary. And we acknowledge them and thank them for their hard work. So well done, ladies. In math, I want to draw your attention to a couple of others. 3rd grade, 58%, 52%. In 4th grade, that's considerably higher, 12% higher than the state average. 58, 60, 55, and 47, all considerably higher than not only our ASA scores in the spring, but the state average on those scores as well. Quarter 1 was unavailable for the 11th grade because they didn't use the BT benchmark. But I met with the teachers. We pulled out the test. We went through it, looked at ways we could offer suggestions on how to improve the test, BT test, and I sent those suggestions in. But they also found ways that they could change what they did as teachers to try and align themselves more with what BT offered. For example, there was Math Talk, what's called Math Talk. It's the words that are used to discuss equations. And sometimes the words that our teachers were using differed from the tests, and they didn't even know that until they saw it. So they're going to adjust there and make sure their students know that when the question is being asked, it's something with which they're actually familiar. So that's it. That's an overview, a little brief overview. Did you have any questions?
How do these scores compare to the surrounding school districts? Any idea?
I only know Sholos, frankly. I do know that our scores inside the ASA, Mr. St. John, when I presented this to him, he inquired regarding, are these scores, how do they reflect compared to our previous scores? Well, our previous scores were really along the state average, maybe just slightly higher. And as you've seen, our scores here are considerably higher. They're doing much better. It's a good. I'm hoping that those scores reflect out not only in the 3rd quarter benchmarks, but in the final AASA scores when they come back to us. If they do, then what we're doing is aligned with the state. If they don't, then we've got to figure out where the gap is and take a look at it.
How did the 11th graders do on the ACT last spring?
I think what you're seeing here, like this down here at the bottom where it says 11th grade in math, that is the ACT. It's just 3rd through 8th is AASA. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that. But you see right there in the column, it says 11th grade ACT in parentheses.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what their scores were in the spring. The state average was 32, so we were pretty much average. But I think that if they will take the time to employ the resources, like looking at their benchmarks with greater detail, making sure that they're not missing something in their scope and sequence, I think that will really help. The teachers seem to really appreciate that exposure. Good question. Any other questions?
All these times where you were saying that we're above the state average, were you able to find out are those statistically significantly above, or are you just looking at the numbers?
Yeah, no.
What were the standard deviations? I mean,
No, there's significant
okay.
improvement. Mm-hmm. That's what's, now, again, we're hoping that the spring scores reflect out what the benchmarks are telling us.
Right.
We have one more quarter to average in, but that should give us a pretty good idea of the trajectory of what we hope to.
Can you come back and update us again at that time once you have those numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Is that in March that they do all their fine with you?
April. Mm-hmm.
And you'll get back the test results right away, or will it take some time to be able to look at the numbers?
Sometimes the benchmark results come in right away, and those I just have to average them and put them into the same sort of chart. The other state scores sometimes take a little time. We got them a little later than normal this last summer.
Any other questions?
I'm good.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Superintendent report, Mr. St. John.
Hey, well, to begin with, I want to thank Dr. Taylor and Mr. Weber for coming and presenting. I really appreciate whenever our teachers and classes and directors and different people are able to come and share about different programs, things that are going on with our kids within the district. I think is very important for you guys to get some of that information. So, and that kind of segues into actually a couple of letters I'm going to take a second to read to you. One I meant to read. I received this actually back in prior to our December meeting, and I missed it, and I want to share both of these letters with you. The first one was directed to Principal Marchant. It's on behalf of the Rotary Club of White Mountains and the White Mountains Women's Club. We wish to thank Show Low High School and your entire staff for the outstanding job that they did in preparation for both the future women's panel discussion and the Parents Scholarship Night. Julie Cota and Christy Rask went above and beyond our expectations for a successful event, and we recommend them for actively promoting and managing both events. The panelists raved about the engagement of the young ladies in attendance and their respectful conduct during the question and answers. It was all extraordinarily well managed by those two ladies. The generosity of Show Low High School in providing the rooms, snacks, and availability for parents to receive FASB information on site was nothing short of outstanding. We sincerely hope the community benefited from the event, and we shall see an increase in the number of applications for scholarship. Please convey our deepest appreciation to your staff for setting the bar at the highest level of professionalism and in making these events so successful. Cordially, Deb Eldridge. That was one letter that I wanted to share. And one that I just received a few days ago, addressed to myself. It's on behalf of the Community Fast Committee. Thank you for allowing us to use the school district auditorium for our 10th annual Community Fast celebration. There were many individuals in the audience enjoying the music and testimonials of how the funds have helped many in our community. The celebration was a fitting way to thank all the members in our community who donated so generously to help others in need during the holidays. Your support of this worthy cause enables us to ensure our families and individuals in need will have a happier holiday season. Please know that your efforts have not gone unnoticed. It proves once again that one of the special things about being a part of this community is the quality of people that live and work here, which you and your staff emulate in every way. Please convey to your staff how much we appreciate their assistance to help others. Have a Merry Christmas. Best wishes always. Sincerely, Steve Williams. So I wanted to share those because I think it's just that cool connection that we have with our community. And shoot, who doesn't want to celebrate that just amazing virtue of humanity and how we work together and need to work together as a people. So I think that's kind of what education is about, but those two letters are really cool to receive and I think share with you. But also hopefully that I can't necessarily always get that out to the staff, so hopefully some people share that with them and let them know of that good connection and appreciation that people have shown. So I wanted to do that for you. And then I also wanted to recognize, and I'm a month late on this too, but some of our activities this past fall, our soccer boys and girls, both those programs and teams that went to the semifinals. Our football, which had a 11-2 record, we're regional champs, made the semifinals, and really we're kind of a smidgen away from going on. Our marching band that received a superior rating at a pageant, and our volleyball team, which made the second round of the state tournament. So cool stuff. I also shared my report that you guys received. A correspondence. It's actually a report from a Colleen Clark, who's a part of the state of Arizona Department of Education, who came in and did a review with WMI. That's actually tied to a weird thing, honestly. It's about the graduation rate, which we know is inaccurate. Like it's not even close because of how the reporting and software is done. But nonetheless, a few years ago, maybe three or so years ago, the WMI was found to not have the graduation rate that we need to have, at least a level. I think it's over 67%. And so we weren't at that level, so we got identified, and so that's where Colleen and this department got tied with WMI. The reality is, when Dr. Taylor and now Mrs. Durbin, Principal Durbin, looked at the data, it's actually not correct. But still kind of cool. Why not? You can still improve. And so you can see with the report and what she reported back, so hopefully you read through that. She speaks very highly of the program, and Dr. Taylor and Principal Durbin for the work that they're doing with those kids. She was very impressed, and as well I think she should be. So that's really a positive report coming back in regards to WMI. Another thing that I wanted to share with you is the high school's work and effort towards adding dual enrollment. So dual enrollment, of course, is the ability to get high school credit and college credit. I'm not even entirely sure how that works here in Arizona, but usually there's a cost to that. I'm not sure if we cover that, if the student has to cover that. So there are some details that I'm not aware of, but I do know that the rigor that can come from that is a positive, right? And it's extremely helpful to students if they can gain dual enrollment. So the more dual enrollment that we have, the better. I had contacted Principal Marchant and asked him about where we were and if we were, if that was something kind of on the radar there. And he said, you're preaching to the choir. We're already looking at that, and we're trying to add as much dual credit as possible. And you can see some of the classes that they're looking at adding, which includes some core classes, but also CTE classes. So maybe they could take a welding perhaps and get both a high school credit, but also get some college credit. So all of that will go a long ways for those kids if that's indeed the career that they choose and go to college. We all know how expensive college is. So it's just a win-win thing for sure to add the dual credit. So I'm proud and happy that they're looking at adding those kinds of things. I did give you a little update there as far as the movement from ASBA policies to the trust policies. Mr. Hall is working with us a bit to help us go through those to kind of ensure, hopefully, as a little or none, hopefully, pains as we change over from one to the other. He and I met this last week, actually went through chapter 1, chapter 2. We're meeting next week to go through chapter 3, which is budget. Of course, we've invited Mrs. Beecroft to be a part of that. She's very busy, but we can't really look at these without her input. And it's going to get a little bit more like that as we go through 4 and 5. But I am hopeful to potentially have that done. So I'll have to find out if you guys want to maybe move forward and perhaps be able to actually change over in February, but if not February, for sure by March, I would think, if we want to. There might be a desire to just kind of wait till the end of the school year. Some people might think that's cleaner. I don't think it's right or wrong. It's just a matter of deciding what we want to do there, but we'll be ready, if not by February, for sure by March, if we want to. A little calendar update. So we are working on the 23-24 calendar. There is a committee that's meeting next week. I suspect they'll meet 2, 3, 4 times. I don't know if it'll be more than that. I do know in my experience that calendars can be a little controversial. So that group is meeting next week. And so I'm planning to have a calendar to recommend to you in our February meeting so that we can have that set. Same old food service update. We're still working on that RFP. That's just a lot of work. It takes a bit of time to get through that before we can move forward. And then I did share with you, which is, of course, the big part of the work to prepare for 23-24 is to look at our budget, because that's one time when you can have your vision as a principal and different needs, and especially the new things. For an example, even talking with our IT director, Mr. Hal Clark, he would really like to have a security person that's just there for the cybersecurity so that we don't have that as an issue. And those costs are going up everywhere. That's one thing. I had emailed the high school is looking at a number of different things, from maybe they'd like to have a math teacher to another counselor to maybe a dean of students, an interventionist. I'm still kind of working with them to understand what that means, because I've always thought that a lot of paras have done that in my experience and done great work with that. But never mind, that actually might be a certified teacher, especially when it comes to math, especially if it's a higher level of math. I couldn't even necessarily be a good para if it was a certain level of math. So I can see where they might want and need that. These are all needs. Of course, budget has a tendency, especially at the school level, right? At the education it's limited to what we will be able to do maybe. So, but we still need to gather all of that and put that together. So there is a schedule and a timeline that you see there in regards to developing the budget. And in the end, if I got my information correct, I think by July 15th we have to have our budget set before then. So, we just got to go through this. Probably have some committees that get together to look at different aspects of the budget, including you have 301 monies, all those things. And it's not just personnel, but there's projects and other resources and things that we have to see what we can fund and what we can't. So a lot of work that goes on into that process, right?
Yeah, isn't that? I'll revise. Oh, sorry.
That's it.
Do you guys have
Thank
any-
you.
Any questions? Thanks. Okay, item 10.1, classified employment. We have a couple people here joining us. I'll entertain a motion for approval. I guess it's hires, new hires, and resignations. Jacqueline Payne, Nicholas Homestead, Finance Secretary. Annika, how do you pronounce her last name? Alvalis? Oh, say it, John.
All the nails.
Thank you. Junior high library paraprofessional, Adam Broadwolf, bus driver, Maggie Chrisman, junior high reading professional, and resignations, Deanna Adamo and Miguel Levia. For your approval.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 10.2, approval of certified employment. We have Lynn Sapello, certified long-term sub for Nicholas Homestead, 4th grade. For your approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 10.3, transfers. We have Cheyenne Tafoa, Shirley Robinson, both retro 1-2 of this year.
Motion we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Certified resignations, 10.4, Jennifer, there's no Andersons in this whole board packet this month. Is it? How do you guys know how you pronounce her name?
Vogelzang.
Thank you, John. And Ariel Valles, Nicholas Homestead, 4th grade teacher. For your approval.
So I would motion, but I would change this motion where it says we're acknowledging the awareness and then approving releasing from the liquidated damages. So I would just motion that we approve these resignations but not include waiving liquid damages.
You don't want the liquidated damages waived
No,
for either of them?
no. Well, I don't think it's for the one. I think it's just for
It's
the
just
other,
for-
right?
yeah.
So we've talked about this for a long time. And we waver back and forth between doing this and not doing it. And we're still in favor of everybody's got a reason, right? And if you do one, it's not fair to another, in my opinion.
Did we explain it to Mr. Wyatt, what the damages are?
Yeah, well, so the liquidated damages, which is in our contracts, are $1,500. I think it's buried in the past. It's a $1,500. It's just to help incur the costs that go along with having to recruit and train and just go through that process of changing from one employee to another. That's the
Do we have a policy on that?
we
What is that policy?
we have wording, we have language in our contract in that regard. Yes.
The contracts that they sign?
Yeah, so basically in their contract, they agree if they leave early, that there will be an assessment of liquidated damages.
Up to $1,500. Right.
If it's in a policy, how do you get around that?
you waive it.
I understand that, but
You,
they signed it.
right.
I see that in too. I mean, it's just,
Now, there are special circumstances, I'm sure.
yeah.
And being the new guy on the block, I don't know if this rises to that occasion. You folks would.
It's subjective.
Yeah, my issue is we say one person's excuse is better than another, right?
The one
And
difference,
each one of them feel
I will
like,
say the one difference in this particular situation is one asked, one didn't.
well, sure.
One was prior
That's
to,
why we're
even though
talking
it's,
about it, because one asked for it to be waived.
Right.
And the other didn't.
Right.
But what I'm saying is,
that's not the owner.
history-wise, we've had people ask, and, previous to, I mean, the board changes every once in a while, but,
Yeah,
we've decided that we weren't going to do it, and then we started.
I think,
I
think
also,
doing
I
it
also
again.
believe she gave
I think-
notice quite a bit earlier and they found
I
someone
think
to
treat-
replace her.
yeah.
But it
So-
still costs us money. That's the whole point of the assessing the liquidated damages, is to help us to be able to mid-school year in this case, or relatively close, at some point during the school year, we have to replace this person, and it costs us money.
The analogy a little bit is sometimes to say that something's black and white, or, that that's fair, I would certainly think that that's not true. It would kind of like saying, this guy doesn't have any legs, so I don't want him to use a wheelchair though to get from here to there. No, he needs to be able to, there's circumstances that are different. So I don't think saying it has to be the same to be fair would be probably the best. But
I'm
On
not
the
sure
other
I
hand-
agree with that analogy, but certainly if we continue to do this, at some point somebody's going to say, hey, how come they gave him the money back and not me, right? So we're going to play with fire at some point. Just depends on when someone decides to take that up and challenge us. I mean, did the other person even know that they could ask for it to be waived? And here we're going to say,
yeah, well,
she's done.
sure. And it doesn't mean it's going to be granted in
Yeah.
any case, but
Well,
So-
I just still feel like
this is
we're
definitely one of those
opening up
things
a
that I
mess.
thought the board might want to weigh in on. So it's one of those things.
I definitely understand your point, John, and I don't disagree that the not having a strict, we always do it this way, we always assess the damages no matter what. Not doing that definitely makes it messier, and there's more cause for it could get messier later. Gray is always messier and more confusing than black and white. I would still prefer to stay a little bit flexible and take each one as they come up personally. So I would be in favor of waiving those liquidated damages, especially since that's what the administration is recommending.
And this would just be another example of us having a policy that we choose to follow when we want to. and
I mean, I think
choose
part of the
not to when
policy is
don't
that
want to.
we can make that decision on an individual basis.
We can do that with every policy.
Yeah.
Well, we just decide at the moment, when the policy's out the door.
I think in these times, these days, a lot of folks are having some extenuating circumstances. And I'm like John, I don't think that we should not follow policy, but sometimes, to do the right thing, you suspend policy. And I guess that's kind of the way I'm leaning. So.
Okay, do we have a,
So I'll withdraw my motion and someone can make whatever motion they would like. Obviously, it didn't get a second anyway.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the resignations as presented.
So motioned.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion
Or
passes.
aye.
So to clarify though, we're waiving both.
No,
No,
just as the
just-
motion
Looks like
was
just one
written.
person.
As the motion's written.
Yeah.
Item 10.5, event workers, for your approval.
I'll make motion to approve the event workers as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 10.6, kindergarten training compensation. Mr. St. John, do you want to talk about this? This is
Um,
new, right?
Yeah, so this is a new law passed by the legislature regarding data, testing, assessments for kindergarten kids. And so every kindergarten teacher now has 6 hours of training, which actually kind of belies the actual, when you talk about the amount of work that goes into this, there's a lot to that testing. It goes into, it's not just academic is my understanding, it's dexterity, different things, vision, I think, hearing and all that stuff, which we generally do at some kind of prior to school starting in any case. But so I'm not that familiar with the actual assessment, but it sounds like it's going to be extremely time consuming. We're even looking at having to add a para for each kindergarten class just to sort of handle this.
Yeah, it's really hard for a teacher to do all of that stuff
Extremely.
one-on-one with a student.
And we have fairly large class sizes anyway. We've got really large this year.
Yeah.
But even with the amount of teachers that if we can find and need to find and hope will find, we still have large kindergarten classes. So it's something that we need to try to fund. We're kind of expecting to be able to do that, I'm hoping. Having talked with Mr. Beecroft, and it looks like we'll be able to do that. We'll find it, even if we have to find it in our title monies or something. But there is still 6 hours of training, so they will be able to articulate better what all this assessment is actually about. Interestingly enough, as I'm hoping you'll support that and pass that, they did find the training during the day. So we won't be expending that money. They thought at the time that the only time available was out of the normal school day. So after school or on Saturday or something. And as it turned out, they were able to get the training. I think maybe only able to get the training during the school day. So then we won't double dip there, but
And they'll just be making up more of their regular work on the weekends anyway.
Correct. And so this was, it's still important to leave this on here in case that changes, or if we get a new kindergarten teacher that needs to take the training and it will be outside their hours, then it'll be there for, so that they're compensated for that work.
Do you know, and if you don't, that's okay, but do you know if these new assessments that they're being asked to do, if that will be in addition to whatever assessments they already do, or we'll be able to drop some of the ones we already do in favor of these new ones? Or is it just going to be even more?
We don't currently test K1 or 2, I think. K1? Is it K1 and 2?
Yes.
Which is shocking to me that we don't. I mean, I'm surprised that we don't.
I mean, I've sat in the hallways assessing kids of things, so I know we do something.
Yeah, so it's, yeah. Oh, well, I'm not sure. So we have our local and all that, but there's
right.
there's
So
not the,
are we still going to be needing to be doing those if we have these, or is it just going to be extra piled on top of?
For the kindergarten or
Yeah.
K1? I can't speak to that. I don't know what all we actually, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Right.
So,
We're hoping it'll take place.
okay, good. Because I think it's hard for them already to do what they already are doing, and then to have things added on top. It can replace instead of be an addition. That would be better, right?
It's a lot of anecdotal data collection.
So okay.
We already do it in with our
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and so, but it's a lot of like observing what they're not like pulling them out.
Okay.
So it is, and that's where we need experts because that all this anecdotal data, input it.
Right.
but so being a proficient reader, that's a common word that we use with assessment is that proficiency.
Mhm.
So they're, I guess, able to read, right? And we don't want to, if we get to third grade, then we already figure we're kind of behind the 8 ball, right? So really assessing and monitoring and doing some progress monitoring to make sure that they're getting where they need to be is pretty essential. And to not be doing that in the K1, 2 doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Because we're already saying by third grade, we're a little behind the 8 ball. So
We are doing progress monitoring.
we do.
Yeah.
But it's, we just want to make sure that they are
Yeah.
where we want them to be, and assuming those tests, again, are the validity and reliability.
Well, I'm not saying
of
we
them.
shouldn't be doing it. I just want to make sure we're not doing too much of it because we have to.
Yeah, taking something away. Correct.
I'm probably the only one here that doesn't know the answer to this question, so I'm going to ask it anyway. Just trying to get back in. Do we offer full day or half day kindergarten?
Full day. We do not get funded for full day, though.
Right. We only
Excuse
get.
me?
We do not get funded. So we are
only
funding,
pays us for
we're
the
funding
half
that with without, with all the other money. So
No,
They did not
they have.
write a
we
letter.
don't get funded for it.
Yeah.
So, but we do offer it.
Okay, but we
That's
offered
that's
for-
pretty typical.
I'm learning again.
That's pretty typical.
Crazy, huh?
Even in Idaho, is that most schools they're not funding it there either, but schools offer it because they know how important it is.
Mhm.
You know.
We'd be even more behind if we didn't.
Well, I'm with you, believe me.
Mhm.
I've talked about this a lot, so.
Any more questions?
No, I'll make motion to approve the training compensation as presented.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 10.7, website input stipends, Mr. St. John.
Yeah, so of course, one of our district goals is to improve communication within the district too, but certainly with our community. And you know, I actually had a couple of parents came to me back when the football team was doing so well, and they said, I can't find anything on the website. And they actually offered, can we go on and kind of put stuff on here? And it wasn't just website, actually. So that's a little misleading. I don't know if I came up with the right term, but would be kind of the supplemental stuff like Facebook and Twitter too, or whatever. It would be stuff that could be put on there. So it's a way to communicate. It's a way to celebrate. It can do all these different things for us, and we're just not really getting that. And I want it to be kind of more of a at least a weekly thing, like on Monday and maybe at 8 o'clock. I'm just going to get on there and I'm going to take some stuff off that's old. I'm going to see what we can add and put on. And each school doing that, and the athletics and almost daily. Now, on the other hand, I don't think it's going to be that daily either. But I'm really, it's not that good. And I don't know, I would ask around and say, we used to have somebody that really did it well, but we lost them. So I know I could just ask them to do it too without any kind of funding. Virginia actually does that for the district for us. There's other things that we do. But I just didn't want to add it's just like one more thing, right? It's one more thing. And I feel like I don't want to do that. It is going to be one more thing, but I feel like, well, if it's compensated, then we can hopefully reach a level of how I see it. I guess I don't know if I can articulate it that well, but I'll know it when I see it, that there's just a lot more updated on stuff that's going on in our schools that's sharing and communicating throughout to the community. So I really appreciated if they're watching too, the parents that said they volunteered to do it, but I didn't think that was the best idea to do that. So this will way to kind of hopefully improve and enhance the dynamics of our website.
So are you proposing that a staff member do this, or is it going to be like a parent, or how will
It will be a staff member.
And when will they have the time to do this?
Well, that's got to be determined a little bit. So if you're the principal at a school and you're kind of asking, can you find the time to do this? It'll likely be one of the office personnel that, some of which have done it in the past anyway. But this will be a little more motivation. It'll be also a way of kind of checking in. I mean, if the expectation's there, and I say, hey, can you get this on there? You feel a little bit better that there's a stipend behind it too. And when you do lose them, maybe, or they don't want to do it, maybe you can find somebody else. So the time, that kind of has got to be determined by the principal if finding somebody that wants to do it, can do it, has that knack for it, and does have the time for it.
Everything that goes on the website, who approves that?
So that person would have that authority.
That authority.
Yeah.
So it would be a stipend person then.
Yeah. Yeah, there are, the principals could still do it too. And a lot of times it'll be somebody like a principal that might talk to whoever that person and says, hey, can you get this on there? And we have this thing going on. Got a couple pictures. Can you put these on there? So, they'll be spearheading it, I think, quite a bit. A principal would, because that person can't put on there what they're not aware of. So sometimes I think teachers and different staff members will share information with them, though, to share out as well. So it's just, they're the ones that, they're the one person, though, that, has that authority, rather than it'd be nice to have everybody doing it, but then who knows what might end up on there. So you need to kind of control.
That's my issue.
Yeah,
is
you need
what's going to end up on there if there's nobody to approve it and say this is okay to put on there.
Well,
and if you left, if it were me, I don't know what I'm doing. Who knows what would end up on there, right?
Well, I think that person will be selected.
That might not
as
pick
someone
you
who'll
then,
be able
John.
to make.
Yeah, there's a little risk there, but
It's better than having a parent volunteer do it. And it's better than not having any.
That's why we want to control who that. We want to control who that person
Librarians
is.
do it, or secretaries.
Approved, what do you mean approved? By who?
Principals.
Well, I would say principals probably should approve what would go on the individual school website,
You would think that would be the best way to do it.
right? I mean, or
But as
the
busy as principals
superintendent
are, maybe that's not.
on the.
But you want to
Important
vet, you
job.
want to vet who you're gonna give that permission to for sure. And
Yeah,
you
so I'm
gotta trust them.
envisioning the football coach wants something on there, he gives it to the principal gives it to this person. And that's quote unquote approved, right? I mean, if, whatever class wants to have something on there.
Yeah, I don't.
I think I think the
that's
principal should be
practical.
able to decide how that should be. If depending on who they pick, they might have enough faith and trust that that person
Okay.
understands.
I'm okay
And
with
so
that.
the principal might
Ultimately,
say,
the
send it
principal-
directly to this person.
Ultimately,
Or the
the
principal
principals
could have
approve
themselves be the
Same
intermediary
difference.
depending on how
Same
they want to
difference.
do it.
If he approves the person, then he takes responsibility either way,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I don't have issues with
And
Same
also
difference.
Facebook is a lot less,
I don't know.
well, I don't think the principal
I have
needs to
a- I have a
approve
face
anytime
for-
it's
I have a face for radio,
a
not
Facebook
for.
post saying that they're
anything.
having a canvas and cookies on Wednesday.
It'd be nice to have a lot more information.
Yeah,
I think it's really lacking.
Anything to
So
get more
That'd be
information
great.
out there, I think is
Yeah.
a great thing.
I think
That'd
we
be
have
great.
certain schools that really excel and some that are
As long as
really,
it's not information we don't want.
no, we
That's
aren't
my
going,
worry.
we're not going to post any pictures of you out for lunch.
No,
or
that's not
anything.
what I'm saying.
Do you want to
Sorry.
volunteer to be the one to
Absolutely
screen
not.
everything,
It
John?
wouldn't get done, because I don't do that kind of stuff.
I'll make motion for the website input stipends as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any further discussion?
I think we hit it.
Okay, motion passes. Item 10.8, sports medicine teaching position. This is expanding, right? So Coach Reed would like to go back to weights and PE. So we're opening it up to someone else, because I think he's teaching it right now, isn't he? A couple classes?
He teaches 2 sections.
Yeah, and so he wants to go back. We want to have someone full-time teaching it.
I'll motion we approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 10.9, instructional coach evaluation form. Mrs. Clark, do you want to talk about this since your name's in here numerous times?
So, I can actually,
Yeah.
go ahead, because she put a lot of work into this.
No, I know
We
you
were
don't
very
just
happy
come
with it.
to listen, you could listen at home, so.
Next month, she is going to listen at home.
Hey, that's an option, so.
I did not come dressed to present. So we
You're in
have,
Sholo attire.
I know,
Of course
we
you
had a
do.
basketball game today. So we have the professional growth and refinement system or teacher evaluation system for teachers. There's an evaluation system for classified staff, for administrative staff, what have you. There was a little bit of a, gap for instructional coaches. They're teachers on assignment, so they're teachers, but their job duties look a little different. They're not in a classroom. They're working with kids, but they're really working with teachers and not in a classroom. So Mr. Van Nostrand came in new this year and he said, hey, is there an evaluation instrument for instructional coaches? And I said, no, it's the first year I'd had one. We just used the teacher one and I kind of made it work for the job. So he and I met a couple of times and put a draft together. We gave the draft to our instructional coaches, Teresa Keim at the junior high and Reagan Roach, Nicholas Homestead, had them review, got their feedback, and then made the adjustments and had a final draft. So it's modeled exactly after what the teacher evaluation instrument looks like. It's rubric based. It includes criteria for if you are highly effective in your job category. Each indicator has that highly effective evidence, so to speak, to give examples. And then there's the summative piece at the end that includes student achievement data. So it's job duties plus student achievement data, which is what a teacher is required to have by the state. So that's the instrument you have in front of you. But the process has taken us, we've been working 4 months maybe. And Mr. Van Nostrand isn't here tonight, but it was a 50-50. He was a big contributor. I'm grateful for that.
Appreciate you taking the time to do it.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the instructional coach evaluation form.
So motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 10.10, out-of-state travel for your approval.
I'll make motion to approve as presented.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
No motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Nobody leave without signing this last one.
Are you still working? Are you retired?